Hey, y'all. Welcome to episode 21 of Naked Talk with Unprocessed Jess. I'm so glad you're here. We are going to be talking about some good stuff today and stuff that y'all want to hear more about. So we'll be talking about how to talk to your kiddos about periods, sex, and their bodies and all of that good stuff. So I wanted to take a quick second to tell you about something I'm super excited about. I've shared before, one of the reasons I added podcasting as well as my blog was that I love connecting with people, and there's just something so intimate about hearing someone's voice. And our voice is a powerful thing, right? And I love empowering women to use their voice, share their story, and as well as me bringing other people in to share their story. So I'm teaming up with Anna. She is about 30 minutes from where I live outside of Houston, and you can find her on Instagram at Anna Yoga Muscle. She is amazing, and we're going to be doing an event called Voices in Motion, and that's April 28th. It's from 2 to 5. You can go to Eventbrite, and you just put in Voices in Motion, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Our topic that we're going to touch on is, who are you? And this is not who are you as a mom or a wife or girlfriend or fiance or a daughter, but who are you? I've shared before that I lost myself in motherhood for so many years. And when I finally decided to stop and take a look at my life and what I wanted to change, it was so good for me. And I felt isolated, not just with that, but other things that I've shared with y'all. And I don't want other women to feel like that. So let's come together and let's talk about who we are and embracing that, or starting a journey to discover that. If you may not know who you are, you may be sitting there thinking, well, I don't know who I am aside from these different roles that I play in life. So I hope you join us. If you're in the Houston area, we're going to start off with us sharing some of our stories and breaking into groups. And then we're going to, Anna is going to lead a stretch and yoga session. Go on her Instagram. You're going to see why that's a really cool thing. And all of that ties into some of her story. Fitness is such a big part of our lives, but I'm starting to meet more and more women where fitness has been really integral in whether it was something in their relationship they were going through or just finding that confidence. So anyway, Voices in Motion, it's April 28th, 2 to 5. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'd love to see you there if you're in the Houston area. So our guest today is Miranda Miller. She is a blogger at Miranda in Charlotte, and you can find her on Facebook as well at Miranda in Charlotte, or Instagram, Miranda in CLT. We knew each other online, but we met each other in real life last week in North Carolina. And we have a mutual friend who had an event there, Jenny Melrose. And she's amazing, y'all. She's hilarious. And I said, oh my gosh, you've got to be on the show because you're what we want, right? We don't need the, like another friend was saying, like the Insta famous person or the TV, person. That doesn't matter. It's not a bad thing, but we're just moms and women trying to figure it out and kind of documenting the process, right? So I'm so excited to have her here. She has 2 kiddos and a husband that she calls Stud. Mm-hmm. I love that. I call mine Honey Buns, and I have that in his saved as his number as well. And you
here it says Stud in my phone.
Yeah. So if you haven't been to her Instagram, check her out. She does a lot of cool Instagram stories and her carpool confessions. So let's talk about period, sex, and bodies. Welcome to Naked Talk. Let's get naked. Woo!
Okay. Well, hey.
I'm like, you have your bed in the background if you're on the podcast, but I thought that's very appropriate. So
I thought that it was the natural place to be. I mean, it has good light too, but that's intentional as well.
That's right. Hey, we're not going to keep the lights off. Let's turn those things on. Turn on the lights. And that's part of what this is just feeling comfortable, and we don't want to keep the lights off. So love that.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, Miranda, about another reasons that I liked, which I saw on your blog, was your post about your girls. I have 3 girls, and we when my bigger ones were younger. My youngest is not so little anymore. She's 10. I'm probably going to do this again with her. I've obviously talked about this, but I haven't done this particular thing. We had a little period party, and we had other mom friends of mine. We all got together, and I know you're going to tell us about a resource you suggest. We used that, and we were nervous too. It was our first round of kids, so we kind of did what I do in this show and podcast. We were laughing and kind of working through it. But so I love what that's so important. So let us know a little bit about how that even started.
Okay, so I have 2 girls. My youngest is also 10, but the older one is 12 and a half, and her name is Isabella, but she likes to go by Bella. And so when school was coming back around this year, I heard all these people prepping for back to school supplies, back to school clothes, but no one was talking about back to school if you start your period there. And so I know that it's a sense of some worry and anxiety for young girls. I kind of did a poll and said, when you got your period, did you even know what it was? And so many of my peeps, I call them my peeps. I don't call them my followers. I am not a leader.
I do too.
I'm not a leader at all. I can't proclaim to be one. So you're just my peeps. You do not follow me. We are in this together. And so many of them were like, I thought I was dying. I didn't know why I was bleeding. My mother had never told me. I find a huge issue with that. Like, why are we not talking to our girls before it happens? And so you can see as your child's starting to develop, right? Like, you know what's going on. You know as a woman what's coming. So we need to get ahead of the curve, I feel like. And so I did this post, just back to school, get your girls ready for potentially starting their period at school. It can be school's already hard enough, right? Like, the friendship, the interpersonal relationships, the grades, the tests, the teachers being tough on you. You don't need to also be unprepared for something else. And so if I could prepare my girls for something that was within my control, I just felt like it was super necessary to do it. And so we went to the store, and she had already known what a period was, and she had already known that I had them. And she already kind of knew what to do and how they related to sex and things like that, and pregnancy. But I had not made her period pack, which went in her book bag. And so it just had tampons, pads, wipes, a change of clothes in a Ziploc baggie. So if anything was stained, she could replace it, and a couple other toiletry type things. And I included a little note in there too that she's never opened. I said, this is for when you start. I want you to open it then, and you'll see why. And it basically just says, like, you are brave and you are kind, but if you still want to come home, go to the nurse, call me. But that, I'm just really proud of you and I love you type thing. So just a little note from me that she knows in my writing and in my voice, that if she is nervous in the bathroom trying to fix things, that she hears me and that she knows I'm with her, even though she's at school.
Yeah, I love that. And it kind of goes along with what we talk about on here is about sex. It kind of goes hand in hand. The best time to start figuring out sex is probably not right when you're having it. So right. I think there's all these same kind of things. There's this anxiousness, anticipation, disappointment, because you have false expectations or something. And when you're in the midst of it, there's so much emotion that's tied around that, whereas, yes, sex is a little different in that there are different, people and connection that happens there. But the general idea of it is something that we can start laying that foundation and giving them, hey, this is what to expect. So I love that. And I remember when I started my period growing up, I was actually really close with my dad. And so he's the one that had kind of said, hey, if you ever, and the best he could, if you ever need these things, they're called pads. You let me know. And so we did talk about it, but I was horrified when I started at school. I mean, it was just so embarrassing. And I love that you're taking that stance, and then also letting moms know. I know now with the third one, it's total different ball game, right? I went from helicopter homeschool mom. Not that all homeschoolers are helicopter moms, because they're not. There's some really, non-helicopter moms. But I went from that and not thinking, okay, if I just don't talk about things, then they're homeschooled and my kids aren't going to need to know about it. That was really wrong. Like, I missed the mark. So now with my youngest, when I started opening my eyes to that with my older girls, she got the benefits. So now it's not, sex isn't some like, oh, don't talk about it. It's something that we talk about. I say, if you have questions, ask me, ask me. And I don't freak out as much.
Well, I went to a conference years and years and years. I mean, gosh, 7-8 years ago. It was just one of my favorite authors was speaking, but they did a whole conference over the course of a couple days. And you could sign up for different breakout sessions. And one of them was a sex therapist. And so, of course, I was like, how many of her sessions can I take? And I sat in there. And so she started talking about sex with your partner, and somehow segued into talking to your kids about sex. And she said something that stuck out so much in my mind. She said, if you have not talked to your child by the age of 5 about sex, someone else has, or something else. Yes. She said, maybe not the full act, but I can assure you they've heard the word. Think radio, television commercials. You might be watching Disney Channel, but you can't control the commercials. You can listen to the radio all you want, but there's commercials on those. Magazines, a relative, all these different people that they're exposed to in their life, the bus, kids at school, blah, 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 blah. She said, they have heard the word, if not the definition. So then she also said at the same time, whoever is the first to tell you about anything, any topic whatsoever, but let's take sex because that's why we're here. The first person to tell you about sex is the expert in your mind, right? Because they're the first person to tell you, oh, what it is? Oh, really? That's your reaction to it, right? And so it just was in my brain over and over again as I was driving home, because it was like 3 hours away, that if I want to be the expert to them, if I want to control that information that they're getting, I cannot be the second or third person to tell them, or 10th. I need to be the first. So I came right home and was like, we're talking about it. And they were quite young, 5, 6, somewhere in there. But at that point, it was just very anatomical, right? Boys have this, girls have this. Please call them by the real names, y'all, please. And just said, they go together, and that's what sex is. Sometimes it makes a baby. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's for fun. Sometimes it's to get a final product, whatever the case may be. And they had asked us, where do babies come from? But I didn't tell them the truth. I just said, they get in your belly. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's a very standard answer, or God puts them in there, and the list goes on. But I just felt like it was time. Tell them the black and white brass tacks of it. We didn't say, when two people love each other very much, because here's the thing. I know how sexual predators groom. They say that they love you. This is an act of love. So I didn't want to link those two together. And then I also was like, I know what my first boyfriend in high school told me. I love you so much. We should have sex to show each other that love. Mm-hmm. So I was very careful. I was just like, Daddy and I have it, and we do love each other. And that's how we have y'all, but they are not the same. Sex is not love. You can use it to show it, but it is not the same. So we just told them the basics. And then my little one, Lily, she's always thinking. And she came to us probably a year later. Okay. I know how babies get in your belly because of sex, but what if I don't want a baby in my belly? And I just was like, dang, how long has she been thinking? And that's when we started talking about birth control, and all the different forms of it. And it just really, it let me know, like, she could have gone to somebody else with that question. She could have looked it up. But because we had already talked to her about it, and because she knew we were comfortable talking to her about it, she was comfortable coming to us about it.
Yes.
And that's what's important. That is why I'm always preaching to people. Get to them first. Be that expert for them. And 9 times out of 10, people come back to me saying, I don't know what I was so freaked out about. I don't know why I was so worried. They took it great. They were so receptive. They had great questions, or they didn't care at all. I don't know why I thought it was going to be bad, because they were like, cool, can I go have a snack?
And I think it's because, and this is just my opinion, we carry so much of what we think about it, or maybe bad experiences, or, how we're viewing it. And we're just assuming that because they're not thinking about it the same way that we are.
No,
we've
not.
been out there. We kind of have the good, the bad, and the ugly, really ugly sometimes. But it was really funny. My youngest, when we talked about it, she said, okay. And then she was little bitty, because I was really talking to my older ones and kind of letting her absorb what she wanted to. And then she would come back and ask questions. So she had said, hey, Mom, she was little, but she said, I really want a little brother or sister. Can Dad go pee in your Virginia now? And I was like, okay. So we might have a little more discussion, but she got the message, just like that, hey, my family, we talk about sex in my family. Now, my husband's British. He was horrified.
I love an Anglophile. I'm one myself, so I love a Brit.
Okay. Well, he was horrified at first. This is back then to talk about it.
Yes.
And I said the same thing. I want them to come to us. I don't want them to think it's bad. And now he's not super, super comfortable, but it's just more of a regular. He's like, okay, we're going to talk about this now.
Listen, nowhere in life has anybody been like, I'm really glad I knew less. I'm really glad I was too dumb to know what that person was talking about. No, we always are like, gosh, I'm so glad I knew about that. I'm so glad I knew more. I'm so glad ignorance. I think what parents are really confusing is innocence and ignorance.
Yes, I love that. You're
they
right.
Want so badly to keep their children innocent that they are keeping them ignorant. Yes. And I'm not using that in a nasty way. It just is what it is. You cannot keep your child innocent by keeping them stupid. It don't work like that. If anything, the more they know what it is and what is appropriate and what isn't, when creepy dude comes to them and says, oh, sex is this. Can I do that with you? They'll go, no, I actually know it's not, because the person I trust the most in my life told me exactly what it is. So for me, I'm like, if you're trying to protect your child and their innocence, nothing is more sacred than their own body, then why are you not telling them what is the truth and what isn't?
Yes.
Somebody else is going to get to them, and their innocence will then truly be stripped away.
And that's true. That's a lot of like I said back before, I was so scared to bring it up. And then I know you and I have discussed this before too, is the whole trafficking situation. Living in Houston, we are one of the biggest hubs. And I had that conversation with my girls probably 4 years ago. And we had a situation last New Year's Day. We were at Target. I was there in the store with them in a different aisle with my youngest, and 2 men approached them. No shopping cart, no items in their hand. We're trying to talk to them, asking if they were twins, how old they were. And my oldest FaceTimed me, and I ran over there. And then I couldn't find them and had the manager walk us out. And 4 girls went missing that day. And they found one of them in Galveston, but the other 3, I don't know. So do I want to have that conversation? Do we want the world to be like this? No.
Yeah.
But is this a possibility? Yes. And I tell my kids, do not be scared, but be prepared. You know,
Sure.
not everyone has your best interest at heart.
That's right.
And then after having that conversation and that incident, several months later, I was having ice cream with my girls, and a man walked up behind me. We were sitting outside, and he just said, "Hey, I ran out of gas. Can you?" And right away, and I'm very nice, and I think I told you earlier, I don't cuss, and I'm like, "Get the out of here," you know. And my kids were like, "Whoa," looking, and my middle daughter especially was like, almost started crying because of what I did. Oh, he said, "Well, what? I just wanted a ride," and I'm like, a man does not come up to a woman and kids for help. An adult does not go to a child for help. So I explained to my girls, and you and I have said this too, our children are raised to be so polite that it can get them in trouble. But like you said, laying those foundations and allowing them, you know, to protect their body and respect their body and listen to themselves, that will help. And that is what we need. So I love how you said innocence does not equal ignorance. Let them be informed and make better decisions.
Yeah. And you can still control the narrative. That's the great thing about getting to them first, is you control how much they want to know and what angle you want to come from. You know, some of my friends are very religious, and so they approach the sex talk with a very biblical you know, sense of a conversation. And so I'm like, if that's how you want to control it, then you still have to be the first one to get there. However you do it, if you're coming at it from a for me, it was just body type. Here we go. Here's some bodies. Female, female, male, male, female, male. Because of course their wheels started turning and turning and turning. But we just approached it like, we just want you to know the facts from our mouths. And it's been so beautiful to see them coming back after, you know, time after time asking questions. Because Bella, I think she was probably 10, and she had been at school all day, of course. And we went out to dinner that night, and just like, boom, right in the middle of a conversation, we could have been saying, "Can we get more chips, please?" And she was like, "Hey, can I ask y'all a question about what 69 means?" And I'm just like, "Chips, please." No.
Check.
I said, "Oh, why do you ask? Like, what happened?" I was prepared to give her the answer, but like, why do you ask? And she said, "Well, I just know that it has to do something with sex, because everybody on the not playground in middle school, but whatever, the track, was saying it and giggling. So you know what that means." And I'm like, "Yeah." And I said, 69 is a sexual position. So if you want to think in your brain what the number 69 look like, it's a sexual position to describe it. And she was kind of thinking like this. And I said, and she had a paper and a crayon, you know, that they had given her because she was a kid. I said, "Do you want me to draw it?" And she was like, "Come on, no." Oh, so embarrassing. And I was just like, "Well, if you have any other questions, just let me know." And Joshua and I are both sitting there like, got to keep a straight face, got to answer her honestly. But we're just, you know, I'm just glad that she knows she can come, because what she could have done is turned to any one of her little friends and said, "Do you know what 69 means?" And Lord knows what they would have told her.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Or they're going to Google it, or they're going to look it up anyway. And then you're going to have a whole other things that she may not want to see and have been prepared for.
Correct.
And
so again, that's the innocence. That's where you can protect their innocence, is that if they can come to you and they're not going to anybody else, that is a protection of their innocence, but they're still not ignorant. So you can have one without the other. Recently she said, she, again, just right in the middle of nothing else, just talking. And she goes, "Oh, I saw something on a YouTube video." Now, they're allowed access to YouTube, of course. Like, they're allowed to watch crafting videos, and they're really into like caking and things like that. But somewhere along the way, somebody said, "You're a jack off," or "jacking off," something alluding to that. And so she said, "What does jacking off mean?" And so, again, we say, well, it's just a slang term for a guy masturbating. Like, going pretty quickly and like a humor. And she was like, oh, okay. And because I know in her head, she's thinking, my dad's name is Jack. And she's heard people call him a jack off. And I'm like, no, kind of different. But it just goes to show that, like, just because we're telling her about these things, when we told her at 6 years old, she wasn't like, great, going to have sex now, woohoo, now that you've told me. I think people for some reason think if we talk about it, they're going to want to do it more.
Yes.
If anything, my husband always talks about when his parents told him or his mom told him, he was like, gross, I'm never doing that. So great. And I remind him of that when I'm really tired.
Yeah, right. Remember when you said at 8 years old? Well,
can that come tonight?
Oh my gosh. Well, this is so good. And we're almost out of time. So I'm like, no, you have got to come back on.
I've talked the whole time and you've talked about it. I'm sorry.
No, that's what I want. That's what this is for this. I think this is going to really start the conversations, I'm hoping, in a lot of homes and have parents thinking like, okay, have I had this conversation? What does this look like? And real quickly, before we wrap up, I've shared too that I did not by any means come from our home was really chaotic growing up at times, but then I was saved in middle school and then I didn't want to do anything wrong. And I was going to save myself for marriage and then got to college and I'm like, ooh, so 21 hit and I had sex. But all that shame that surrounded it. So, yes, I believe you can be, religious, but also do it in a way that is, like you said, mindful. Don't just think of the words you're saying, but how is that child going to think about that?
If you keep it so secretive, shame lies in secrets. I know this for a fact. Shame lives in secrets. So if you keep something so secretive and away from your kids, if something is happening to them that is not appropriate, they are thinking, well, if I tell them, they are going to be ashamed too.
Yes.
So again, there's nothing that being ignorant really helps. People are, ignorance is bliss. In some ways, sure, things that don't matter, ignorance is truly bliss. But for things that matter, you cannot live in ignorance. It just doesn't work. And we need our kids to know that everybody's so busy. Yeah, I got your back. Yeah. No, they need to truly know that in all ways. And they need to come to you if something has happened to them. If you are so busy saying sex is bad, it's a secret, you shouldn't be doing it, blah, 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 blah. When something harmful happens to them, they're not going to. I've heard so many stories. People have confided in me that, I was raped and I didn't go to my parents because they were so busy telling me that sex was bad that I didn't want them to even think I could have gotten into that position.
Yes. And I was talking to a lady a couple of days ago about the same thing. And it's important to have these conversations. And I really want you on again. I hope you will. And
of course.
If y'all haven't checked Miranda out, she's at Miranda in Charlotte. She has gorgeous purple hair, and I wore a shirt to kind of match that. So you can check us out on our Facebook and Instagram and the nails. I love it. But yeah, I'd love for you to get on and talk more, even about bodies. I think there was some stuff we were talking about with bodies.
Yeah.
So yeah, check her out. And if you have any questions, you can message me or email me at naked@unprocessedjess.com, and then maybe we can have Miranda on for a Q&A.
Yes. If y'all want to see more of me, just let her know, and then I'll be back.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm glad we got to talk.
Me too.
I will see y'all. I'll be back for the next episode, and we have Jenna Longoria with Healthier Notions talking about periods again. She's a period guru. So we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.